So if Nero didn't start the fire, who did? The honest answer is we don't know, and we never will. What we do know is what Nero believed. He believed the fire had been set deliberately, and he chose a target for his blame: the Christians. In 64 AD, Christians were a small, poorly understood sect in Rome. They were seen as strange, secretive, and antisocial. They refused to worship Roman gods. They spoke of the end of the world. They were the perfect scapegoat. Tacitus describes the persecution with apparent discomfort. Christians were arrested, executed, fed to animals, and burned alive as torches in Nero's gardens. It was a spectacular act of cruelty, even by Roman standards, and it backfired. Even people who despised Christians began to feel sympathy for them. The punishment was so extreme, so obviously political, that it undermined Nero's credibility rather than restoring it. The persecution of Christians after the Great Fire of Rome became one of the founding narratives of Christian martyrdom. It is almost certainly when the apostles Peter and Paul were executed, and so Nero created his own enemies. The people he scapegoated would eventually outlast him, and their descendants would write his legacy as the monster who burned Rome. After the fire, Nero rebuilt. He redesigned the city with wider streets and building codes requiring stone construction. The new Rome was genuinely better than the old one, and then he built the Domus Aurea, the Golden House, a palace complex covering hundreds of acres in the heart of Rome, rotating dining rooms, artificial lakes, gilded ceilings, a colossal bronze statue of Nero himself, 120 feet tall. Rome was not pleased. In 68 AD, 4 years after the fire, revolts broke out across the empire. The military abandoned him. The Senate declared him a public enemy. Nero fled Rome and, facing execution, killed himself at 30 years old. His last words, according to Suetonius, were, "What an artist dies with me." The Senate immediately began destroying his image. His statues were torn down. The Domus Aurea was demolished. Every effort was made to erase him. They failed to erase him, but they succeeded in defining him. History is written by the survivors, and the survivors were people who hated Nero. The fire may have been an accident. The persecution of Christians was real and horrifying. Nero was impulsive, cruel at times, and politically disastrous. But the image of a mad emperor playing music while Rome burned, that is a story his enemies told. And 2,000 years later, we're still repeating it. This has been fallen empires. If you want to understand the forces that actually shape history, power, narrative, and the people who control both, subscribe. Because next week, we go inside the decision that destroyed the Mongol Empire from within.